Hello and welcome to Tech Talk. I'm Graham. Now here's something that should not even be happening right now. Believe it or not, compact cameras are actually the fastest growing segment of the camera market, with sales that were up more than 30% in 2025 alone. Now, this is coming at a time when every smartphone manufacturer on the planet is telling us that their camera is better than ever. So what exactly is going on with this? Well, I want to break that down for you today. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly which compact camera I think you should go out and buy. That's coming up right now, right here on Tech Talk. Now, I want to be really clear about what we're talking about here. We're not talking about the serious, expensive mirrorless cameras that professional photographers and hobbyists carry around. What we're talking about is compact cameras. These little point and shoots. These are small, fixed lens cameras that you can slip in a jacket pocket or purse. They're the kind of camera, really, that most people, quite reasonably, wrote off as being dead about 5 or 6 years ago. See, everyone, including camera manufacturers, assumed that the smartphone had finished off the compact camera segment and that sales would essentially head to zero. And they weren't wrong to think that. See, over the years, smartphones, they really did close the gap to cameras in terms of their quality. The lens options grew, the image quality improved greatly, and the digital image processing that you see in smartphones now, it's amazing. So smartphones then, over the years, they've kind of become most people's go-to photographic choice. You always have your smartphone on you, and so if you wanted snapshots, you just pulled it out and clicked away. But now, recently, something's changed in the last 18 months or so, and I think it's actually more interesting than most people are giving it credit for. So why is this happening now then? Well, I think really there are three things that are kind of all coming together and converging at the same time to drive this increase in compact camera sales. The first thing that I can identify is what I'm going to call the smartphone plateau. When you think about it, when you look at photo comparisons between this year's flagship smartphone and last year's flagship smartphone, when was the last time you thought to yourself, wow, the camera in that phone is like completely different than it was last year? I'm guessing it's probably been a while. Generally speaking, the improvements in smartphone cameras have become a lot more incremental than they were a few years ago. You get a bit more zoom here, you get a bit better night mode there, and that's kind of about it. In the meantime, the phone itself is getting bigger and getting more expensive. Flagship phones cost a lot of money now. So I think people are starting to ask a reasonable question, which is, am I really getting what I'm paying for when it comes to smartphone photography? And here's the interesting thing. Canon, one of the biggest camera companies in the world, picked up on exactly this trend. At the beginning of the year, a Canon executive stated publicly that young people have started to understand, and this is in their words, what they cannot achieve through smartphones. When you think about it, that is a remarkable statement to be made in 2026. And I think it indicates the market has started to shift. Now, reason two driving compact camera sales is the Digicam aesthetic. And this is really interesting. When we look at Gen Z, which is people born roughly between 1997 and 2012, they've developed a real affinity for the look of early 2000s digital cameras. Not film, not mirrorless, but those old compacts. They like the slightly softer, less polished images they're getting from those old Digicams. And there's a whole aesthetic built around it on social media. And it's driving demand not just for old cameras on eBay, but for new compact cameras that capture a similar feel, but have better image quality. Now, what I find interesting about this is as somebody who's a little bit older, I actually remember using those old digital cameras, so I've got real nostalgia for them. In fact, I had a few in my collection still up until a year or so ago. The good news is today's compact cameras are dramatically better than those old digital cameras, while still offering something a phone simply can't replicate. Now, the third and final reason I think we're seeing this surge in digital camera sales, compact camera sales, is that desire to be disconnected. I mean, let's face it, we're all on our phones all the time, every day. We constantly receive notifications and alerts and messages, and we're fed a constant stream of news and data. And people are starting to push back. A recent survey at review.org found that 46% of Americans were concerned that they were addicted to their phones. That's a huge number. In 2026, we're now seeing a real trend of people wanting to be disconnected from their digital devices. And they really want more grounded, authentic experiences. Now, a digital camera supports this trend by encouraging you to keep your phone in your bag or your pocket and to just focus on the art of composing and taking pictures. No alerts, no emails, no distractions. Now, camera manufacturers have noticed all of this and they're investing once again. Canon released the PowerShot V1 this year and it was genuinely well reviewed. Panasonic also released the new TZ300 and earlier their ZS90. Now, I've had a few things to say about the TZ300 in a previous video, and my views on it weren't exactly glowing. I'm not a huge fan. But the point is, the segment that everyone said was dead is now attracting serious investment again. And when manufacturers start to invest and compete, that's good for us. We get better products and better prices. So that's actually good news for anyone who's thinking about buying. So that explains the why in this shift of compact camera sales. And I think it's a pretty compelling case that this isn't just about nostalgia. It's a genuine, measurable shift in consumer behavior. But to be honest, it's probably going to take a few years to see if these elevated sales hold and continue, and we'll really only know for sure then. But the question you're actually here for is, should you get one? And if so, which one? Now, I'm not going to be throwing 15 cameras at you and leaving you more confused than when you started. What I have is two cameras that I'm going to feature here. The Panasonic Lumix ZS80 and the Sony ZV-1. And I want to walk you through who exactly each one is for. Because I genuinely believe either of these could be the right camera depending on what you're trying to do. Now, the Lumix ZS80, which is also called the TZ95 in some parts of the world, is what I'd call a traveler's camera. It has a 30 times optical zoom that goes from 24 millimeters to 720 millimeters full frame equivalent. That's super impressive. With that zoom, you can photograph something from the other side of a room or even across a soccer field, and that's something that your phone just can't match. Now, I'm going to be showing you some pictures from this very camera, and you should know that all of the samples in this video, well, they're straight out of the camera. They're taken in intelligent auto mode and with a standard picture profile. So there's nothing that's been done that's fancy in terms of editing. So this first picture and the next one were both taken standing in the exact same spot to give you an idea of the zoom reach of this camera. Now in this photo, the end of that sidewalk you're seeing, well, it's a bit more than 2 city blocks away from me. That's just incredible zoom reach. Now I have to be honest, when we look at the operation of this camera, the menus are a little bit dated. But once you get used to them, they're laid out in a really logical fashion and they're easy to get used to. And the battery life in this thing is really, really good. What I also appreciate is that this is the last compact camera from Lumix that has both a tilt screen and an electronic viewfinder. Now those are features that I personally find indispensable, and they're missing on both the newly released ZS90 and ZS300. For me, it boggles the mind that in 2026, manufacturers are still trying to sell cameras with fixed screens. So the question is, who is this camera really for? Well, if you travel, if you go to sporting events or concerts, if you want to photograph wildlife, or maybe you just want to photograph your kids or grandkids when they play in a park at a distance, well, this is a camera for you. This is a camera you can take anywhere and just not really have to think about. You don't need to know a single thing about photography to use it. You simply point, you zoom in, you get the shot. It's that easy. Now, to be clear, there is a full suite of manual controls in this camera, so if you want to get creative, you can, but it also works really well in auto mode. Now, with that great big zoom, the one drawback that you have is that it is a pretty small sensor. It's just a 1/2-inch class sensor, similar to what you'd have in a phone. Now, that means you do get a little bit of that old school digital camera aesthetic. It's a little grainier, it's a bit noisier, but the colors are fantastic and the zoom is unbeatable, and again, fits really easily in your pocket. Now, as you're seeing in these video samples, the video capabilities for both 1080p and 4K are just, it's okay. It's usable, but nothing to write home about. So this compact camera is one that I recommend when you're going to use it primarily for photography and you want and need that really big zoom range. Now, unfortunately, the ZS80 and the TZ95 are discontinued, but they have pretty good availability in the used market through sites like eBay. That's how I got this one. I bought it off of eBay from Japan. If you do decide to pick one of these up, focus on getting the later D model. It has an improved EVF and a higher resolution rear screen, and they're a lot nicer to use than the original ZS80 and TZ95. So now that brings us to the Sony ZV-1. And this is a completely different camera proposition. Where the ZS80 is the traveler's photography camera, the ZV-1 is really a creator's camera. It's optimized for video as much as photos, and that's by design. One of the nice features is it's got this articulating screen. Now, that's pretty necessary for vloggers and others who need to turn the camera on themselves because you can see yourself and make sure you've got the correct framing. It's also got optical image stabilization, and it produces video quality that will genuinely make people ask what camera you're using, and you can see that in these 1080 samples and 4K samples. It's far better than most people would expect from a tiny little camera like this. Now, that improved image and video quality is largely a result of the much larger 1-inch sensor found in the ZV-1. That bigger sensor does mean you get a much smaller zoom range though. On the ZV-1, there's a roughly 3 times optical zoom, it's a little less than that, as opposed to the 30 times zoom on the ZS80. So you're not going to get that huge reach. Now, trading off on that is that the ZV-1 is just a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter than the ZS80, so it is a joy to carry and use. And although it's designed to be video first, it's actually a really fun camera for photography and produces great quality images, although it is missing an electronic viewfinder. Now, who is this camera for then? Well, if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, if you want to make better content for social media, you want a compact camera that takes video seriously without making you feel like you need a film degree to operate it again, this is the one to pick. It's video first, but still really, really solid on the photography side. Now, the ZV-1 is a current model. It's still being manufactured and currently on sale, and it sells in 2 variants on the zoom side. So there's the ZV-1 and the ZV-1 Mark II. The biggest difference between the 2 models is in the zoom range of the lens. This ZV-1 has that 24 to 70 millimeter lens, and the ZV-1 Mark II is 18 to 50 millimeters, so a little bit different. The Mark II's lens also isn't quite as bright as the original lens, and the Mark II is missing the optical image stabilization of the original ZV-1. It's got digital stabilization only, which is a little bit unfortunate. So for me, the original ZV-1's my favorite. Now, pricing for the ZV-1 starts at around $800 on Amazon in the US and $1,000 on Amazon in Canada, which makes them among the most affordable compact cameras on the market. Now, there is a third variant. That's this one here, and this is the ZV-1F. And it's the ZV-1F because it has a fixed 20 millimeter equivalent lens, so there's no zoom. However, it sells for about $650 in Canada and just $450 in the United States, so it's another ZV-1 option if you don't need that zoom lens. So now if you want to know what compact camera I'd recommend over all the others, here's my answer. And I'm going to be super direct about it. Because I know often when we make these videos, I tend to hedge a little bit and people come back and say, just give me the simple answer. What one is it? So that's what I'm going to do here today. If I could only have one camera and I'd have to use it for the rest of my life and no other camera, it'd be the Sony ZV-1. Not the Mark II, but the original. It's awesome for video, but it still works well for photography. I have a hoot taking pictures with this. And honestly, it has great image quality. For me, the 24 to 70 millimeter zoom lens in it is practical and it's plenty for what I do. And I like the fact that it has really good built-in mics for recording audio. That's helpful as well. It's small, it's light, it's reasonably rugged, and it doesn't cost a fortune. Unlike some other compact camera options that cost close to twice as much. That's right, I'm looking at you, Canon G7X and Sony RX100 Mark VII. That's all on you. But here's really what I'd say at the end of the day. To anyone thinking about putting down their phone and picking up a digital camera, the camera that you actually own and can get your hands on and use is infinitely better than having the perfect camera that's still sitting on your Amazon wish list. So take whatever you've got access to, and go out there and enjoy it. And just have fun taking pictures undistracted by your phone. And honestly, having dug into this for this video, I'm feeling a bit better about where the compact camera market is in 2026. The market is alive, the options are real, there's new options coming into the marketplace, and the prices are pretty reasonable, at least some of them. So if you've been on the fence then about buying a real camera, this might actually be the year to go ahead and do it. So having taken a look at these two cameras and who they're for, let me know in the comments down below what camp you fall into. Are you more of a traveler or more of a creator? And if you already have a compact camera, I'd genuinely love to know which one and what you think of it. Now again, I'm Graham Hughes, this is Tech Talk, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.